Hello and welcome to News Now. Unconfirmed number of persons have sustained injuries after a truck conveying internally displaced persons from Maiduguri to Gambarungala in Borno State, northeast Nigeria, ran into a landmine planted on the highway. The incident occurred barely an hour after the military authority in Maiduguri officially approved the movement of over 200 cars and trucks conveying the returnee IDPs and food items to the liberated border community. The chairman of the National Union of Road Transport Workers, Bello Modunganari, confirmed the incident, saying, quote, "There is no report of death so far, but arrangements have been made to convey the victims to the hospital," end of quote. Gambarungala is one of the communities recovered from terrorist sect Boko Haram by the Nigerian military. Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari has inaugurated a presidential committee to coordinate the reconstruction of parts of the northeast region which has been ravaged by the Boko Haram insurgency. The committee, which will be headed by General Theophilus Danjuma, will operate for the next 3 years. The committee also has Tijani Tumsa as vice chairman, while Senator Alin Dume and Honorable Buba Yakubu represent the Senate and House of Representatives respectively. The inauguration of the committee comes a week after the Senate passed a bill seeking to establish the Northeast Development Commission to rebuild some of the communities ravaged by the insurgency. The Senate approved the allocation of 3% of value-added tax accruing to the federal government in the next 10 years for the rebuilding of the Northeast through the proposed commission. The headquarters of the commission will be located in Maiduguri, Borno State. South Korea has pledged to collaborate with the Nigerian armed forces to help in setting areas that will make Nigeria military more responsive to its responsibilities. The leader of a military delegation from the Democratic Republic of Korea, Major General Yu Song-chol, made this known when he visited the defense headquarters to discuss modalities for the training and other support for the Nigerian military personnel. Chol said Korea is willing to partner with the Nigerian armed forces in the area of counterinsurgency training and capacity building for enhancing national defense capability aimed at total eradication of extremists in the West African sub-region. He also commended the Nigerian armed forces for its exceptional roles in regional and global peacekeeping operations. Now, oil workers in Nigeria have threatened a fresh strike action unless the government intervenes in the mass retrenchment of some of its members. The workers under the aegis of the Nigeria Union of Petroleum and Natural Gas Union, NUPENG, converged in Lagos, where they reviewed the 1% removal pension system on the workers in Nigeria's oil industry. The chairman of the Lagos chapter of the group, Tokunbo Korodo, says the union is giving the government a 21-day ultimatum to stop the retrenchment, or else it will embark on a fresh strike action. He warned that no worker should be cheated in the pension system, where 1% of his salary is contributed into the trust fund.
We can do to ensure that nobody is cheated, because 1% of the gross salary of every worker need to be paid to this trust fund by the employers, and they are not contributing a dime to this fund. But if they have, by virtue they have accident in the workplace, is it a duty and a duty of the employers to notify the trust fund, and they need to be compensated. And we just been told that within 14 days, such as they need to be reported to them so that they can take it up. And as they are paying for this fund, to the fund, contribute to this fund, they also attach the details of their workforce.
The Nigerian Senate has suspended its planned amendment of the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board (JAM) Act. The Senate says the suspension of the bill is to allow for adequate consultation with stakeholders. The Senate had last Thursday passed the bill extending the validity of the result from 1 to 3 years. However, the decision has been criticized by stakeholders in the education sector. JAM's registrar, Professor Ishak Eloyede, had appealed to the Senate to suspend the bill, saying it was a product of acrimony and, if passed, would be counterproductive. The Senate has now heeded to the appeals of the JAM registrar and agreed to suspend action on the bill. Nigeria's House of Representatives has summoned the Inspector General of Police, Ibrahim Idris, over the rising cases of extrajudicial killings in the country by security personnel, particularly the police. The House reached the resolution after debate on a motion moved by a lawmaker from Bayelsa State, Duoye Diri. The House cited the case of Bayelsa State, where it said the Joint Task Force and the police killed 4 innocent Nigerians in the last 2 weeks, and specifically mentioned the alleged killing of a footballer, Izu Joseph. Idris is to appear before the House Committee on Police Affairs and Human Rights. Former Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria and Emir of Kano, Sanusi Lamido Sanusi, says policymakers have failed to produce what the country needs at this time of economic crisis. Emir Sanusi says the country needs a vibrant policy that will make everyone to change their appetite for foreign goods and start patronizing homemade ones. This, he says, will help Nigeria to create the much-needed wealth, increase productivity of the manufacturing sector, create employment, and help the country to shore up its foreign reserves.
But you know what we discovered? We discovered that there were 33 different varieties of seed that can produce this China red paste sitting in Nigerian research institutions. That extension services trained them. We negotiated a price for the farmers. If that factory has started operating, if that factory operates at full capacity, it can produce 1/3 of the total tomato paste import into this country in 1 year. So it's just about looking at a problem, having the right policies, addressing consistently.
But the governor of Osun State, Ralph Aregbesola, who was also at the same event as the emir, called on the federal government to borrow from international banks now or sell off its national assets to liberate the country from its present economic crisis, while the president of the Latter Rain Assembly Church now, Tunde Bakare, urged the federal government to help average Nigerians who are finding it hard to make ends meet at this time.
Free fall of the Nigerian economy had begun long before the coming to power of APC. Regardless of how you want to put it, what we are experiencing today could have been properly papered over, but had been there before our advent. It has come to the nadir now, and we can only be thankful that it's not worse than it actually is, because indeed it could have been worse. It's no use even say what I want to say, but it could have been worse. It's enough. The fundamental problem is that we can no longer fund, and that is key. We can no longer fund our imports. An artificial, fake lifestyle, all of us, because our foreign exchange earnings are progressively declined, while our taste for and dependence on foreign goods have continued to increase.
As we examine the economics of change, we must be mindful of the everyday Nigerian. From the importer who can't access foreign exchange, to the manufacturer whose loan capital has been devalued by over 100%, from the parent whose naira estimation of the cost of education for his world has been overwhelmed by the cost of $1, to the employee whose remuneration has become the victim of a downward spiraling purchasing power, it is to these Nigerians that we owe actionable solutions.
President Muhammadu Buhari has approved the reappointment of Yemi Kale as the Statistician General of the Federation and Chief Executive Officer of the National Bureau of Statistics. He was first appointed in 2011 for an initial term of 5 years, and his reappointment is for another 5 years. Kale received his undergraduate degree from Addis Ababa University and a doctorate from the London School of Economics and Political Science. He has served on several presidential committees and advisory bodies and is an alumnus of the Harvard Kennedy School of Government Leadership in government programs. The presidency says only a competent court can decide if former National Security Advisor Sambo Dasuki stole over $2 billion meant for the purchase of arms for the country. This follows comments by former President Goodluck Jonathan that his embattled former NSA could not have stolen about $2.2 billion as alleged by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. In a statement released on Tuesday, the presidency urged Jonathan to allow the court to decide Dasuki's fate. The Deputy National Publicity Secretary of the All Progressives Congress, Timi Frank, had also challenged the former president to help Dasuki prove his case in court, since he does not believe such an amount was misappropriated. Frank said rather than make those claims, it would be more appropriate for Jonathan to assist in the investigation and prosecution of the case. Now, a federal high court in Lagos has fixed December 7, 2016 to hear the fundamental human rights enforcement suit filed by Patience Jonathan, that's the wife of the former president Goodluck Jonathan, against the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission EFCC and Skybank, challenging the freezing of 4 bank accounts containing $15 million. Patience in her suit says the commission infringed on her fundamental human rights by blocking 4 of her accounts with the bank. She's seeking a $200 million compensation, $200 million compensation now for damages.
Corruption not in my country.
That was a very good business.
Yeah.
The furniture you brought was very perfect.
That's how we roll.
Because let me do you receipts.
Yeah. How much was it again?
1 million naira.
Okay, write 2.5.
Mbano. The deal was for 1 million naira now.
Okay, write 3 million. I'll give you 500.
Oh no, I just do business like that now. Yeah.
In that case, give me back my check. Let me go and look for someone that understand business.
Take.
Your loss. Rubbish.
But it is only for incorruptible customers. What are you talking?
Now get that.
What kind of this?
You will just die.
No,
You will die.
That is the door. Now get out from here.
Rubbish.
Look, my people, make una only add money for original invoice price. That's not corruption. Say no, not in my country.
Corruption not in my country.
Welcome back. The Association of Nigerian Electricity Distributors on Wednesday said it had no plan to increase the current tariff being paid by consumers. The body's Executive Director, Research and Advocacy, Sunday Odunton, said the distribution companies have not submitted any proposal to the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission on tariff increase. He, however, urged the National Assembly to reconsider the stoppage of the bond provided by government in order to address the liquidity challenge facing the power sector. Oduton says the business of electricity distribution were presently not bankable because no bank would lend DISCOs money with the huge deficits in their books. Now, oil fell for a third day on Wednesday, nearing $50 a barrel for the first time in 3 weeks, as investors grew increasingly doubtful that OPEC members will agree to cut output. Now, Brent crude was down at $50 a barrel, while U.S. crude fell to $49.23 a barrel. Adding to the pressure on the oil market was a data from the American Petroleum Institute on Tuesday that showed an unexpected rise in U.S. crude inventories. Burundi has informed the United Nations Secretary General Ban Ki-moon of its decision to quit the International Criminal Court, adding momentum now to mounting African opposition to the Hague-based tribunal. African states have long complained the ICC is biased, prosecuting Africans while ignoring others, but they had until recently resisted withdrawing. Burundi now says it has joined South Africa and Gambia in withdrawing from the court. About 22 people, mostly children, have been killed after airstrikes struck a residential area housing a school complex in the northern rebel-held province of Idlib in Syria. Activists and rescue workers are reporting. Activists operated Idlib News Network confirmed the assault, saying the death toll could rise as some of the wounded were reported to be in critical condition. The incident comes as the government and its ally Russia said they would continue a moratorium on the aerial bombardment of besieged rebel-held eastern district of the city of Aleppo. Idlib is the main Syria opposition stronghold, though radical groups also have a large presence there. It has regularly been hit by Syrian and Russian warplanes, as well as the US-led coalition targeting Islamic State militants. Ifeanyi Ubah head coach Ifeanyi Ubah Football Club head coach Raphael Everton says he's confident of his team's chances now in the 2016 Federation Cup final. The Anambra Warriors will face Nasarawa United on Saturday, October 29, 2016 for a chance to win the club's 4th silverware in its short history. The game will take place at the Teslim Balogun Stadium, and Everton says he believes his side's quality will see the team through to victory. Interim England manager Gareth Southgate says Wayne Rooney's status as national team captain is not under threat. Rooney has been dropped from the Manchester United first team by Jose Mourinho following poor early season form, and he also lost his England starting place for the second match of Southgate's tenure. That was, of course, a goalless draw now in a World Cup qualifier against Slovenia. Nevertheless, the former Aston Villa and Middlesbrough defender says he's impressed by the forward's leadership qualities and does not intend to strip him of the captaincy. Former world heavyweight champion Vladimir Klitschko says he is not contemplating retirement despite having seen 3 title bouts fall through in 2016. Hamburg-based Klitschko, who turns 41 next month, has endured a frustrating 2016. His rematch against Tyson Fury had been set for July 9, only for an injury to force the British fighter out. Fury then pulled out of a second bout and has now seen his boxing license suspended by the British Boxing Board of Control. Klitschko had also planned to fight Britain's Anthony Joshua, but both camps say the fight will now not take place. However, despite the setbacks, Klitschko says he's determined to keep on fighting. Well, let's hope he doesn't retire before another fight happens. That's it on news now. We thank you very much for watching. Continue to stay tuned to TV360.